Hello, and welcome to this special edition of the Newsfeed Talk Show. I'm your host, Nathan Brennan. We have a big show planned for today, and everyone knows that college students struggle with money. Being broke is part of being in college. That's exactly why the focus of today's show will be teaching viewers how to be more responsible with their money. We'll start off by giving you everyday tips for budgeting and saving money. Then we'll talk about free events in the community so you don't have to sacrifice your social life to be financially responsible. Lastly, we'll demonstrate how to make delicious, cost-effective meals from home. Managing finances is a difficult job for many college students. The majority of the time, first-year students are living alone for the first time and aren't aware on how to budget their money responsibly. These are some of the financial struggles that college students endure on a daily basis. Now we go to Newsfeed reporter Emily Horvath, who took to the street to get insight from college students on how finances impact their lives.
Thanks, Nathan. Today we'll be asking college students how they budget and save money. So what would you say are the biggest financial struggles that college students face?
I would say probably at least amongst my friends, because we're busy paying off like so many different things like rent and various other expenses. I would probably say like food is really difficult for like people to get, which is like really sad because there's so many different opportunities for like meal plans and stuff.
I think for me personally, I'm taking out half of a loan, half of the government, half paid by me. So I think that for sure is a big burden when it comes to paying tuition.
Probably having to pull out student loans are probably the highest financials that students have to deal with. I mean, the interest rates are never going to go down for college students, so student loans are probably the biggest one. And also when you turn 21, going downtown and spending a lot of money on drinks. That's also hurts my wallet a lot.
And how would you say that your finances affect your social life?
Personally, my parents help me a lot, thankfully. But I know for a lot of my friends, it's a big struggle. They work a ton of jobs or working full time and going to school, and it you can tell they're very stressed and just anxious, and they never have any downtime to genuinely relax, which a lot of kids are needing honestly today to do.
I think that if you don't have financial security, you're less comfortable, you're more on edge, depending on how severe it is, it could be very deep problems that, alter your ability to be yourself around other people.
It depends. I mean, usually towards the end of the semester, it starts getting to be where money gets a little more tight after I'd start running out from either my summer or winter earnings from jobs. I think it does get a little tighter where you have to decide between, okay, am I going to go out tonight or can I stay in and just, wait until next weekend so I don't have to spend as much money?
I feel like there is there's sort of a correlation there as to where I guess when you have a little bit more security, you can actually you're able to do a little bit more. So you're able to have more experiences, help filters and communication, but I mean, it has some effect. It doesn't really define somebody, though.
How do you budget and save money?
I don't. I spend way too much money on things I shouldn't spend money on, so yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
I try to stick to on-campus meals or not go out too much with buying food and kind of watch how much I'm spending.
So I usually create a budget, and I've taken finance classes here at Tech, so those have really helped me budget better than I did as a freshman.
I try to make the most of every financial opportunity I have, maximize my financial opportunities. For instance, maybe applying to all the unused financial aid in the school can make your tuition pretty much negligible. That's what I've been doing.
Not well enough, honestly. I've already taken so many different financial literacy classes on budgeting and everything, but it's hard to stick to it every day, especially as a college student.
So I keep I don't know, since I was young, my dad told me I keep an Excel spreadsheet, so I can track every purchase, every weekend I look back at my history and track it just to see maybe one month I spend more than the next, but I like to say I'm keen on that.
Today we learned that college students face a lot of financial struggle and could use some help. This is Emily Horvath reporting for the Newsfeed. Back to you at the desk, Nathan.
Our first guest of the day will be Virginia Tech's very own Dr. Alex White. If you've ever taken a personal finance course at Virginia Tech, you might know him better as Doc White. Dr. White received his bachelor's in agricultural economics from Virginia Tech, with a main focus on farm management and agricultural financial management. He went on to receive his master's in Ag Econ at Ohio State before returning to Virginia Tech to earn his PhD, focusing on retirement planning strategies for agricultural producers and small business owners. Dr. White has spent the past 25 years teaching a variety of courses at Ohio State, NC State, Ferrum College, and of course, Virginia Tech. He became a full-time member of the Hokies faculty in 2016, teaching courses that revolve around the business side of agriculture. So without further ado, please welcome Dr. White. Dr. White, nice to see you.
Thank you, Nathan. Good to be here today.
So getting right into it, obviously we saw from the video, students normally struggle with managing their money. So what do you think is the biggest difficulty that students have budgeting their money in college?
Well, one of the big problems is they've never had to manage it before. Mom and dad have been doing all the managing, so they haven't had the responsibility. They don't see money going out. One of the big culprits is the Hokie Passport. You swipe the card and magically you get things. You get food from West End, but you don't actually see the money changing hands. So big problems are just no experience with it. They kind of get caught up in the social life and don't realize how much they're spending. And they just don't take the time to think about what they want to do with their money, what their wants and needs really are.
And then how dangerous, you said swiping the card is obviously an issue with students. Like how dangerous is swiping that card? Like how does students get past that, oh, I'm going to swipe and then I'm just going to buy whatever I want?
I think it's very dangerous to use the Hokie Passport or your debit cards because you don't see money changing hands. So I'm a big fan of either using cash or writing a check because it slows you down. So one of the problems you see is you just lose track of how much you're spending. So at the end of the month or end of the week, you think, wow, where'd all that money go? Mm-hmm. So it's very easy to get caught up in the spending habit there because you just physically don't see cash changing hands.
And then so other than, I know you said cash and then writing checks, what are other like strategies you would say for budgeting money when you're in college?
First thing you need to do is sit down and think about your goals. What do you really want to be able to do? When you come to that, you need to think about what are your needs versus your wants. And too often students focus on their wants. They have to do what everyone else is doing rather than focusing on what they need to be doing. From then, take 10 minutes out of your life and do a budget. Just think about how much money you're going to have available for that month, and then think about what your expenses are going to be for the month. You're going to have your living expenses, your housing, your utilities, phone bill, internet, you're going to have food. Entertainment's a big one on there that tends to bite people. And transportation, if you're going back and forth or if you're using the little scooters. You need to just take time out to put a budget together so you can think about how you use your money. To follow up on that, the next thing is one of those powerful things I have available, I think is available for students, is to track your daily expenses. Just carry a piece of paper around and write down every dollar you spend and what you spend it on. If you do that for 4 weeks, now you have a month's worth of living expenses and you can compare that to your budget. I tell folks this is like sliding a piece of cardboard under my old truck. Slide her under there, pull it back out. If there's a stain, A, I know I've got a problem, and B, I know where to look to fix that problem. So this daily expense tracker helps you see where money is leaking out of your wallet. It really brings it to the forefront.
Now, so these are obviously great strategies, and then kind of going off of that, I know you teach finance courses for students coming into Virginia Tech. So would you say that students, not necessarily financially incompetent, but do you find that most of them aren't very educated on these strategies?
If I were to throw a number, I'd say 85% of students really aren't good with managing their money. They haven't had to do it. Mom and dad have been managing their money for most of their time. The students that are working off or away from college, they tend to be better. And there's some parents who have done a very good job of teaching their students, but I'd say a vast majority, they're just inexperienced, haven't been taught. A lot of times their parents may not even know how to best manage their money.
Yeah. Well, those are obviously all great strategies, and we appreciate what you're doing for Virginia Tech, obviously helping out students like me who aren't the best at managing money. So we really appreciate you coming in. Thank you so much.
Right, thanks for inviting me.
And then coming up after the commercial break, we will welcome another guest to talk to us about Blacksburg's growing entertainment scene, so you can learn to have fun without breaking the bank. Later on, we'll look into building some delicious, cost-effective meals that you can make right from home. So stay tuned.
Honorary Forest Ranger Betty White here, lending a hand to my dear friend Smokey Bear. Because for 75 years, he's only said,
only you can prevent wildfires.
But there's a lot more to say. Like, if you Park your car on tall, dry grass. The hot exhaust pipe can start a wildfire. So keep the animals safe, especially the cute shirtless one. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Welcome back to this special talk show edition of the Newsfeed. I'm your host, Nathan Brennan. Before the break, we sat down with Dr. Alex White to talk about some tips that will help you keep more money in your pocket. But it's no use keeping all of your money if you end up missing out on going out and having fun with your friends. After all, college is all about making lasting memories. Everyone loves going out and attending live events. However, this often comes with a big price tag. Driving to major cities and paying for expensive tickets is impossible for some students to afford. Luckily, there are plenty of events in Blacksburg community for students to attend that are cheap and sometimes even free. Now we go to Newsfeed reporter Ada Welford on how Blacksburg is striving to bring affordable entertainment and live music to students.
In recent years, several Blacksburg businesses have grown the local entertainment business and provided more affordable options and events for students.
You pronounce my name.
Kyle Dixon, an employee at the Milk Parlor, explains how students' finances factor into their event price.
So a lot of the population of Blacksburg during the school year is college students, and without them we'd lose a lot of business. So we definitely look at how much a college student would look to pay and want to pay for to go see a show.
Dixon is hopeful that Blacksburg's music scene will continue to flourish and that students will be able to continue to enjoy concerts for low prices.
Well, Blacksburg's a very artistic community in general. They have murals and lots of local bands, and a lot of college students alone have bands. And with all the local music and diversity we have here, it's good just to get people exposed to it, and music's something that everybody can bond over.
Reporting for the Newsfeed, I'm Ada Welford.
Now we welcome our next guest, Nick Seiberts. Nick is a local musician and the organizer of last year's Fest Festival. Fest was a weekend-long music festival that was free for students to attend and showcase many local musicians. Now, Nick, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Now getting right into it, so Fest, what inspired you to create, what was like the creation of Fest? What is it? Like, what all went into the process of having that?
Yeah, so it's actually a lot of things. The first one being Progress Fest, which was the original Blacksburg Music Festival held on one of our good friends' farms. And so it actually cost money to go to. But so what I wanted to do with Fest was marry the free versus like having a lot of like musicians there, right? So it was difficult to convince musicians to do this, but what my pitch was to bring people who never would go to local music shows and try and get them attracted to the local music scene. So that was kind of the way I put it. So lots of musicians. Actually, we recruited 15 bands and about 20 DJs. Wow. So all of them did it for free, donation based. So it was really great.
Now going more into that free aspect of things that we're talking about, like how important do you think it is for students to have access to these affordable events that are free?
Well, I think it's very important, right? But I also think there is an aspect where it's the responsibility of attendees to support their local musicians, but it's also the responsibility of local musicians to support their attendees, because, you know, everyone knows that money's tight, so there's got to be a give and take there. And these events such as Fest give that ability back to the attendees to come to a showcase of all these great local musicians and talents.
So it sounds like it's kind of like a give and take from both the attendees and then also the students. So what do you think the overall response is from the students that you've seen from events like this?
Oh, I think it was incredible. We got people at these shows that had never ever gone to local musicians or local artist shows. And I just thought it was great. It was a great environment. I saw faces I'd never seen before, familiar faces, of course, but yeah, faces I'd never seen before. It was incredible.
So as a student, obviously, like the free and affordable aspect is very important to me. So how would you say, what is your advertising, your marketing, like how do you get these events out to students? Because obviously it's difficult to pay for it when you're in college.
Yeah, it was actually pretty difficult advertising. We had a crew of kind of like an executive committee, and I made some posters and we posted them all around Blacksburg. Facebook and social media was our big outlet to get people involved in the executive part of the planning and actually coming to. So we set up this big event, and I think there must have been 1,000, maybe 1,500 people that responded to the event to either going or maybe going. So
Yeah.
it was a very big success for the local community.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Nick. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks for helping out college students who don't have as much money.
No problem.
We really do appreciate it. Coming up after the commercial break, we head to the grocery store to meet up with another one of our reporters. There we'll gather the ingredients necessary to make budget-friendly meals from home. So stay tuned.
Get it.
Get it.
Get it.
Give your town a reason to celebrate, because every Goodwill item you bring home brings job training and more to your community. Goodwill, bring good home.
Welcome back to the newsfeed. I'm Nathan Brennan. Before the break, we sat down with Nick Seiberts and talked about a couple fun, free events in the Virginia Tech community so you can maintain your social life without sacrificing your financial health. Before that, we had a discussion with Dr. White about effective ways to keep more money in your pocket. I'd say we've covered a lot about saving money so far, but we're not done quite yet. The last and arguably the most important topic is about food. We all need to eat, so spending money on food is an unavoidable necessity. In fact, it's one of the largest expenses for college students. As fun and as easy as it is to simply go downtown and grab something to eat, it's not exactly the kindest option for your bank account. It's difficult to anticipate how much those little charges can add up over time, landing you in deep trouble. It's much more cost-effective to make your own meals at home than it is to constantly order takeout. To show everyone how it's done, we sent newsfeed reporter Signe Gagnon to a local grocery store.
Hi, I'm Signe Gagnon, and I'm standing here in Kroger showing you everything we need to get in order to build our first economically friendly meal from home. Peanut butter and jelly, everyone's favorite. First off, we have this big boy. This creamy peanut butter is only about $6, and just look how long that's going to last you. You're not going to be making peanut butter every day, but if you do, peanut butter goes in a lot of things. Bagels, peanut butter and jelly, bananas if you like bananas, anything you want. This will last you a while. And if you don't want to commit to that, even this little guy, you can get 2 of these for $3. Doesn't get much better than that. The next component to the peanut butter and jelly sandwich is naturally the jelly. You can get raspberry, strawberry, grape, starting at $1.39, going all the way up to only $2. And jelly's going to last you even longer than peanut butter is. Just think about it. And what's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich without the bread? You can get a big loaf of white bread like this for $1.25, or if you really want to ball out, you think you have some extra money in your pocket, you can get this hearty whole wheat for $1.99. Our next meal from home is going to be a pasta dish with your sauce of choosing. Again, the pasta, you're really only paying for the shape. A thin spaghetti like this goes for about 99 cents, or you can do my personal favorite, the Italian cavatappi. I personally think it holds the sauce a little bit better. This only goes for $1.89 if you really want to break the bank. The next component to our spaghetti pasta is naturally the sauce. Your cheaper options are going to be down here on the left-hand side with Kroger brand marinara pasta sauce, chunky stuff, anything you want in that regard. But if you want to go a little more expensive, you don't have to feel bad about spending a little extra money. Especially since this kind of sauce doesn't expire for a couple years, so you can keep it around for a while as long as it's refrigerated. Now this certainly isn't necessary, but if you do want to, you can always add some protein to your pasta. I prefer the turkey meatballs, since they're just as cheap as the original Italian meatballs, $3.49 for a box of 24, and they're healthier. So we've done a lunch meal and a dinner meal, so now it's time for a breakfast meal. But why stop there? Eggs are so versatile and can be cooked in so many different ways. You can have them for breakfast, lunch, dinner, even a snack on the go, and they're so cheap too. You can get 18 of them for $1.89. Since we already have bread and eggs, why not just add a little protein and make it a breakfast sandwich? Bacon and sausage start at $3.29 and $3.99 respectively. But why stop there? Add something sweet to any meal, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, by adding some fruit. Apples are only $1.29 a pound, or if you need something more affordable, bananas are 59 cents a bunch. Now that the car's all loaded up with our groceries, just make sure you return your cart, and then we can go home and start cooking. Hey, glad you could make it. Come on over here and we'll get started. I hope you don't mind that I changed my clothes and hair while I was waiting for you. Don't need to get hair in the food, and definitely need to throw a shirt on that I don't mind getting spillage on. We'll start down here since we have the dinner stuff at the far close end. For the pasta shape, I decided to go with some angel hair. Nice and light. You can portion out as much as you want. It's good for a stir fry, good for a spaghetti, very versatile. I also had some leftover vodka blush sauce in the fridge that I figured I'd use, since, you know, it doesn't go bad for a while, and why buy something new when you already have leftovers? I did the same thing with this bag of meatballs that I have, Italian style. I know I said turkey at the store, but taste is good with the Italian style. As for the peanut butter and jelly, I had some bread, some white bread left over. As soon as you open the package, you're going to want to stick it in the fridge so it doesn't get moldy as quickly. It'll help you save money on bad bread. I also have the little peanut butter, and I went with grape jelly, so that should be exciting. And then finally, for the eggs, the options are limitless. Like I said, you can do scrambled, sunny side up, over easy, over hard, poached. We don't have the means to do poached here, but we can do all those other things. I also decided to include a little jar of this Cajun seasoning that I had at home. I put it on almost everything. I season my eggs, my meat, it's phenomenal. And as much stuff as I put it on, a jar like that still lasts me about a year. So we're good to go there. Let's get started. We're going to start in chronological order for our meals today. So first up, scrambled eggs. I usually like to go with 2, maybe 3 if I'm feeling super hungry. We're just going to do 2 today. Throw it into a nice little bowl. Nice egg right there. And just whip them up real nice. Hopefully you know how to make scrambled eggs from scratch by the time you hit college, but just in case, we are here for you. Now, because I have mentioned the versatility of the egg multiple times, we are going to do eggs 2 ways, which is why I have 2 pans set up right here. Both stove tops are set to medium heat, just so you don't have to rush, and it also doesn't take too long. Make sure you grease up both pans with Pam, or else you're going to be eating a lot of burnt, sticky eggs, and the pan is going to be difficult to clean. This front pan, we're going to take the eggs that we whipped up earlier, just pour them right in there. My electric stove is a little bit on an angle, so they're gonna dump to the side there. And this is when I whip out that Cajun seasoning that I was talking about earlier. Just sprinkle that on there, and I just coat the pan, make sure it all cooks nicely. You can leave that to sit for a little bit until it starts to look like it's starting to cook. You'll know what I mean. And then, for the sake of portions, because I'm only one person here today, we're just gonna crack 1 egg into the other pan. Do a sunny side up. Maybe we'll flip it. We'll see how ambitious we're feeling later. Leave those both to sit for a little bit, and then come back in a second. Now that we're starting to hear a sizzle on the scrambled eggs, we're definitely going to want to start to move them around. Just grab your spatula, tip the pan a bit so that the runny parts coat the bottom of the pan and cook evenly. Since they're scrambled eggs, they don't have to maintain one uniform shape. It's not an omelet. Make sure you can also flip it. Get the wet parts or the uncooked parts to touch the bottom of the pan. Just keep doing that repeatedly. This guy in the back still looks good. You're going to want to leave him be until the inner part starts to turn a solid white as well. In the meantime, we can just focus on the scrambled eggs. When you're satisfied with how they're cooked, just grab your plate, slide it on. If you did the Pam, then they should slide on pretty easily. Always remember to turn your cooktop off. No fires. Now on the other hand, this sunny side up egg here, I believe I'm going to take some creative liberties and turn him into an over medium egg. I didn't choose the best pan because I used the good pan for the scrambled eggs because they're harder to clean. So you just got to use a little bit of elbow grease. Flip that boy over. Let him sit for a little bit longer. Not nearly as long as they sat the first time. It only takes a little bit to cook the rest out. Try to pry this up in the meantime. Don't waste any egg. And then grab that, and they're all eggs. Yeah, that looks good. And you have eggs. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's peanut butter jelly time. Time for meal 2. So, I already have the bread laid out for you right here. Literally only 2 other ingredients. Jelly, peanut butter, jelly. You get the point. I also have 2 knives here to avoid cross-contamination, since I have roommates. All you do, open the peanut butter up, smear it on the bread, get a nice even coat on there. Peanut butter is very easy to spread. Makes me very happy. Lay that down there. Jelly. Repeat the process. A little harder to spread since we got some chunkier jelly. So you're gonna have some sweeter spots. If you don't spread it evenly, that's okay. It's totally personal preference. That's a lot of jelly, geez. We're gonna have a sweeter sandwich. And then make them be friends. Sandwich. All right, time for meal 3. Spaghetti and meatballs with vodka blush sauce. It's basically, if you know how to boil water, you know how to make pasta. I'm not gonna take out too much pasta just because I already made 2 meals and I'm just one person for now. So I'm just gonna take a handful of pasta just to demonstrate. Throw it in the water, maybe a little more. You can never have too much pasta. And just follow the package instructions for how long to cook it. Basically this says 3 to 5 minutes, so I'll see you then. Now all that's left to do is scoop it onto the plate. I used a small portion size, so it's gonna look a little small on this plate. And I also preheated 2 meatballs according to the package instructions. Usually I would make a serving size, but like I said, big meals, or a lot of meals, I gotta make small portions to save food. I'm not gonna eat it all in one sitting. And when it's done, it should look a lot like this. And there you have it, folks. That's 3 meals, 1 breakfast, lunch, and dinner that you can make easily at home for very little cost. Took very little time too. I mean, did you see how easy it was to make that PB&J? Awesome. I'm gonna save that for Nathan on studio day. But for now, I'm gonna enjoy my dinner. Back to you guys.
So to recap, today we talked with Dr. White about how college students can budget and save their money. A good tip, make sure that you absolutely do not swipe that card. Might be a good idea to go ahead and grab you some cash. Also, he gave us some awesome tips on how to manage finances while in college. That's very important for all of us. We also spoke with Nick Seiberts about how affordable live music events that are available to all students regardless of age. So be sure you're checking on all social media platforms. Make sure you're going through the internet to make sure you find events throughout the New River Valley that you can go that are very cost effective. And finally, we watched newsfeed reporter Sydney Gagnon shop on a budget and prepare some low-cost meals like this peanut butter and jelly sandwich here, making me a little bit hungry. Also, make sure that you go to the store, go throughout all the aisles, do your very best to, when you go grocery shopping, your absolute very best that you are not spending too much money and breaking the bank. So that will wrap up this special edition of the newsfeed. A huge thank you to all of our guests that joined us today. We appreciate them, Dr. White, Nick, especially Sydney, who had an awesome video. Not only did she have tutorials on how to make the food, we went through the grocery store to make sure that you're able to spend as little money as possible while in college. Also, if you have a story idea or even a talk show idea for the newsfeed, let us know. Send us an email at thenewsfeednrv@gmail.com. And as always, you can connect with the newsfeed on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for watching. I'm Nathan Brennan.